Welcome back to Bullyball, a San Francisco 49ers podcast. It's been a while. We haven't been on here, but a lot has happened in 49er land. We had the NFL draft go by, rookie minicamp, the 49ers schedule released, and we had Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talking about the quarterback situation. So we're going to dive into all that and more, so stay tuned.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to cut.
All right, so welcome back to Bully Ball. You have me, Joseph, my dad, Daniel, here with you guys today, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Getting excited now that we can talk football again.
Yeah, a lot's happened, and we wanted to put out our instant NFL draft analysis, but I feel like we all get a little biased. The NFL draft happens. You obviously want players that you've been watching and stuff, and the 49ers always do something totally different. And so, some instant analysis can be kind of just emotional, I guess. So we're going to go over it today, a little less emotional about it. But first off, we'll go ahead and talk about the players the 49ers drafted. I'll throw it up on the screen. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. All right. So as you guys can see, this is the 49ers draft class. Obviously, their first pick, they took Jair Brown, Penn State safety. And then the surprise that shook all of us, down to our core was with their second pick in the third round. They draft Michigan kicker Jake Moody. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Obviously, they then go on, and you can read that list and see all of their picks. And then down here at the bottom, you can see the undrafted free agents the 49ers brought in. So we'll leave this list up for now, and we'll talk a little bit about these players because now they had reported for rookie minicamp, and you're able to see a little bit more there. Obviously, no pads, no 11 on 11. But that's the first time you see them on the 49ers field with the coaches and stuff like that. So, 49ers draft a safety with their first pick, Jair Brown. Have you done any, have you watched his highlights, things like that? What have you seen from him?
I was watching his highlights. He's a baller. I think he's going to pair well with the team. Like you said, I was thinking we come out and we get a offensive lineman or something right away in our first pick, but we are a defensive team, and he's a baller. He looked good. I've heard some good things about him that they were talking about at the camp. I didn't get to follow it too much, but I did hear that they said he was he looks like a playmaker. So that's always good when you hear that. Like, he sounds like he's a real deal. He'll be able to come in, probably really, really be ready to go next year, take over the spot. But I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, so he's the only safety in this draft class that had over 10 interceptions between the past 2 years. I believe he had 6 this past year. So, he was compared. Some people are comparing him to Hufanga, which you like to see. His weakness, they say, is going to be in deep coverage. So, it's kind of interesting how they're going to work that with, Hufanga's not really a great deep player. If he's not really a great deep player, what are they going to do with them to make that work? But ball hawk, so we'll see what he can become. I like that pick. How did you feel when the 49ers drafted kicker Jake Moody in the third round? We all had wanted Jake Moody, but in like the 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, maybe. They take him in the third round with their second pick. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I was shocked, but then again, the 49ers don't really shock me when draft comes up. We always have some players in mind, and then they always go like opposite. You know, it's an interesting one because the kickers they win you games. There was a couple seasons that most of our points came from our kicker. You know, Gold was out there killing it, and so I still don't know like where we picked him up. That was early, you know. But shit, hopefully, you know, he comes in and has a long career with us, and there's going to be games that we're going to be counting on him. I just hopefully he comes through, you know, and earns that third round pick and doesn't make us look silly.
Yeah, and you know, he is a really good kicker. He won the kicker award, the Lou Garza award in 21 or yeah, 21. He didn't win it this past year, but he does have a big leg, you know, 50. I think he had a 57 yarder this past year. So big leg. You know, supposedly he's going to be great at kicking the ball out of the end zone on kickoffs, which is something we complained about all season last year because the 49ers would not kick it out of the end zone and teams would be set up with great field position almost every single possession. So that is a huge upgrade. Um, he isn't the only kicker on the 49ers roster at the moment. They had the guy they traded for from the Panthers. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. But I assume, you know, it's not going to be a competition. They're going to give it to Jake Moody. You know, it's going to be interesting, though, because you draft a kicker in the third round. If he misses a kick, it's going to upset a lot of people. And he is going to miss kicks. Everybody miss kicks. But, you know, it'll be interesting how I said he was the Lou Garza winner in 21. The Lou Garza winner in 22 this past year, Christopher Dunn from NC State actually went to the Rams undrafted. And that dude is accurate as hell. Like he did not miss, I think he didn't miss any kicks, maybe one kick this past year. Doesn't have as big a leg, but you know, it's going to be interesting at the end of this season when you compare Jake Moody's stats with his stats and see who got the better deal and the better kicker. And you know, it would be disappointing if Chris Dunn ends up being the better kicker this year. What do you think about that and the value of the pick?
Yeah, see, that's the key point right there, you know, where they got him undrafted, you know, and we gave up an early third. Like there was a lot of talent on the board still, and I don't see any other teams going for a kicker, you know, that early. You know, there was a lot of talk about that. I mean, shit, hopefully they, you know, they did what their little studying on him, and they went out and grabbed him because they seen something. I mean, obviously he looks good, you know, he's young, and maybe that was one of the key points trying to build this team for the future. You know, at this point we ride with it. You know what I mean? We didn't get into the other pick at that spot. Hope for the best. I think he's going to be good. You know, with the big leg. Hopefully our offense could get us in the touchdowns, you know, where we're not relying on the kicks all the time, but that is a crucial part of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, 49ers, we've been blessed. You know, we went from David Akers, even the kicker before David Akers. I can't think of who it was off the top of my head. But was it Cortez?
The roofer that came out.
And then David Akers and then Robbie Gould. So the past 10 plus years, you haven't really had to worry about your kicker missing a kick. And I don't believe we've had any games where we lost because of a kicker missing a key kick, except when it was, I think it might have been Robbie Gould was injured and we had those other dudes in there and we did lose a game by missing a kick. So we haven't had to worry about it. If we don't have to worry about it for 10 more years with Jake Moody, that's a win of a pick, and we won't be complaining about it. So we'll take it. Our last third-round pick was Alabama tight end Cam Latu. I thought he was going to go a lot later. You know, not the most explosive or athletic guy, not the fastest guy, but he's only played tight end a couple of years. He came into college as a defensive end. So at the 49ers rookie minicamp, everyone was saying he looks huge. Like he looks like a huge dude. He's going to be able to run people over. In his draft reports, they were saying he has a good wiggle and ability to find space in coverage because he's obviously not very fast or explosive. And he's an okay blocker. The 49ers said that they think they can develop him into a really good player. So, I don't know. That was one of my least favorite picks, I'll say, but we'll see what he can develop into. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I was hearing all that too. I also heard that he was in Kittle's tight end camp. Maybe Kittle, had said some good things about him and thinks that he could train him up. I mean, he's going to have one of the best players to, model his game off of with that. So Kittle's one of his strengths is the blocking, so maybe if he follows in his footsteps, he could be great like Kittle, because Kittle is one of the best in the game, and so if you want to come up behind somebody and learn, their traits, there's no one better.
Yeah, and I mean his stats weren't great this year, but last year he broke the Alabama receiving touchdown record for tight ends with, I believe it was 7. So I mean, could be a good red zone option for the 49ers. We'll see what he can develop into. And then we go into the 5th round. 49ers pick South Alabama cornerback Darrell Luter Jr. And I've been hearing great things about him. He's a big, long corner. He plays press man coverage, and he gets in people's faces. He's patient in his coverage. And, some people that were watching him at 49ers rookie minicamp are saying, hey, this dude might start this year at outside corner for the 49ers. So we know the 49ers sweet spot is at 5th round. That's where they usually find their stars at. Not very good in the 3rd round, but hey, maybe Darrell Luter Jr. is one of those steals the 49ers can get. How do you feel about him?
I like him. The things that I've been hearing about him, and like even if when you come out and you say that he could have the potential to take a starting spot, that's when you're getting the playmakers, the players that you want. And corners, always tough, man. We go back before Richard Sherman, and Barrett. Like those players, when you could get them that could ball out, you got to grab them guys. And I hope he does step up and play the big game that he's looking like he can play, because there is a lot of talk that he's legit and he's going to make things happen. So that excites me.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the corner situation once we get through these draft picks. But there is some interesting things going on with it. Their other 5th round pick is Georgia edge Robert Beal Jr. Kind of an interesting pick for me because he didn't have the stats that you would like to see, especially for a guy from Georgia playing with that great defense, championship team. You have Jalen Carter on the inside taking a lot of the double teams away from you. But the 49ers said he led, and I forget what they said. It was like their balls to the wall or something stat where it's like he has a great get off. And he's super athletic guy, good size, just didn't have the production you would like to see. So the 49ers really think they could shape him into a great all-around defensive end. What do you think about Robert Beal Jr.?
Like you said, his numbers were a little low. And before we got him, I didn't really hear too much about him. So I didn't know much about him. I just started seeing it after we got him, kind of looked up a couple of videos and stuff. But we do have one of the best line coaches, around. So we can develop players. I mean, we've done a year in and year out. We've turned out some guys that were no names and they come out, getting big contracts when they leave us. So who knows? Hopefully he is a baller.
Yeah, and so as you can see here, some of his strengths, wingspan 7 feet. You love that. Wide base. Um, Weaknesses, only 10 starts and 5 seasons at Georgia. So you don't like to see that. But what you do like to see is in 21, when they won the national championship, the first one, he did have 6.5 sacks. So, and that's only in 2 starts. So you like to see that. This past year, he had 3 sacks, which, production went down. But you then look what he did at the combine and you see why the 49ers took him. He is 6'4", about 250, so he has good size, long arms, but 4.48 speed and a 1.62 get off. So this dude is fast. And you don't really see it on tape, but if you could get that get off to actually show on the field, and Chris Kasarik would be the guy to have that happen, you possibly have a guy here with Robert Bill Jr. So interesting measurables. And in the 5th round, that's all you could hope for. 6th round, the 49ers take TCU linebacker D Winters. This is another super fast, explosive guy. He's a little undersized, but the 49ers love those undersized linebackers that are super athletic. This dude pretty much single-handedly destroyed Michigan in their playoff game, college football playoff game this year. How do you feel about D Winters?
He looked like a baller, especially in the 6th round. The 49ers too good with their linebackers. I think he's going to come in and he's going to have a good group to be working with. This guy I think he's going to be a baller. He's going to come in like Greenlaw, and I think this guy, he is going to be a player.
Yeah, and John Lynch actually did compare him to Dre Greenlaw. And, the 49ers lost Azeez Al-Shaair, who was their good reserve and third linebacker. So, you bring in a guy, he's a little undersized, like I said, 5'11", 227. But look at the speed again, 4.49, 156, 10-yard split. And he was just a playmaker this past year. 79 tackles, 14.5 for loss, and 7.5 sacks, which is an interesting number because, Steve Wilkes, we're going to talk about him, but that's a lot of sacks for a linebacker, and he had great speed. So, I really like that pick a lot as well. We'll see what he can do for the 49ers. And then in the 7th round, we get Braden Willis, another tight end, kind of a do-it-all guy. He was one of the best best blocking tight ends, whether that be pass or run blocking. Pretty good receiving ability as well, and he can play out of the backfield as like a fullback move tight end. So kind of a do-it-all guy. And some people like him more than Cam Latu. So how you feel about him?
Yeah, he was one that I was hearing a lot more hype than Latu. And the 49ers like those players that can do multiple things, the little trickery and all this shit like that. Definitely got to be a good blocker. You're going to be a tight end on the 49ers, got to be able to block. But I was hearing that a lot of people thought that he was better than Latu.
Yeah, so as we can see here he is going up, getting a ball up high in the end zone. So you love to see that one. See it one more time, going up over the guy, bringing it down. Let's see if we could get another clip of him. Here he is at the, no, that's not him. Let's see. Same clip. See if we could get another clip. Here's another clip here. Going up, getting it in the end zone. So, pretty overall, all around type of guy. Little undersized, but, I really like that pick in the 7th round. We'll see what he can do. 7th round, another guy, Michigan wide receiver, Ronnie Bell. Not a big guy, not a fast guy, kind of a possession receiver type player, but At the 49ers rookie minicamp, they said, hey, this dude is a player. Great hands. He was pulling down everything that was thrown to him. And he tore his ACL in 21, but he did come back and have a great year in 22. So maybe, another year on that knee, he can get back some more speed, some more explosiveness. How do you feel about him?
That was another player that I was hearing a lot. Like you said, they said he has great hands, and with the receivers, that's what we need because that ball goes up, we got to come down with it. We need to be making those catches. We've lost games in the past from our receivers not catching the ball, drop balls, miss first down opportunities. So that I think he is going to be a baller. And, the 49ers do good with some of those later picks. Sometimes we do better with those than our earlier picks. So I think he will be a player. He's going to be a receiver that couldn't come out. He has a lot of competition out there. So he's going to have to come out and, really show what he could do.
Yeah, and he was all Big Ten this past year, 62 receptions, almost 900 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So, not too bad. He also had 3 rushes for 23 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Like I said, tore that ACL, but he came back. He ran a 4.54, so not the fastest guy, like I said. Pretty explosive, though, with a 38-inch vert. And, his athleticism score per the combine, he was 24th most athletic wide receiver, and you're getting him in the 7th round. So you like to see that. 6 foot, 191, pretty much prototypical 49er receiver size. Debo, Ayuk, both not huge guys, not small guys, just that average size, average speed, but they all do something well. So, we'll see what he can become in the NFL. And then their last pick was Purdue linebacker Jalen Graham. Kind of a bigger linebacker, not very fast like D. Winters, but he was a safety linebacker hybrid. And at 49ers rookie minicamp, they said, hey, this dude is huge. He looks like a D end, but he's explosive as hell. And, you don't really see that on tape, so you love to hear that from the 49ers rookie minicamp. And the 49ers said they were debating taking this guy here at this pick where they took D. Winters. So they get a guy they really liked. How do you feel about him?
I think it's great value. I didn't know much about him before. I was just here listening to what they were talking about from the minicamp. Anytime you could get a player that's going to be making plays, and if you can make the team and everything in a later pick like that, it's always, that's a win.
Exactly. And yeah, like I said, a bigger guy than the 49ers usually bring in, 6'2", 220. And like I said, not as fast as all the other linebackers on the 49er with a 4.6, 4.40. But as we can see, this past year, he had 52 tackles, 5 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, 5 pass breakups. He was kind of a hybrid, and he did miss 4 games due to injury. But, I think they kind of see him as like a guy that they could use in pass coverage, because you look at the year before, he also had 7 pass breakups. So kind of a safety linebacker hybrid. We'll see what he becomes for the 49ers. Probably really liked him as a special teamer at first on this team. And then we'll quickly go through the undrafted guys. So an interesting one here is Oregon State linebacker fullback Jack Coletto. This dude won the award in college football for the most versatile player in all of college football this past year. He played fullback, so he was blocking as a fullback, caught passes as a fullback, and he was the wildcat quarterback for this team. I think he had like 6 rushing touchdowns playing quarterback. And they would use him on like 4th and short to pick up these short down yardage situations at quarterback. And then he also played linebacker. He picked off Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback this past year. So kind of an interesting guy. We'll see if he probably a practice squad type of player, but really interesting. How have you watched some highlights of him, and how do you feel about
No,
him?
I haven't. I don't know too much about him. Um, he sounds interesting. You know what I mean? Like you said, even if he comes out on the practice squad, it's somebody you're gonna have to pay attention to, or he's gonna make you look foolish out there. And
Yeah,
hey, we could always use that crazy ass quarterback, somebody that could play. And look what happened to us in the last game, man.
I think he actually threw a passing touchdown as well. I'll have to look, but super interesting. If you're here watching this, check out this dude's highlights. It's pretty crazy to see. And I'll throw some up. I'll try to pull up Twitter real quick and throw some up. But we'll go through some other guys real fast. Center Corey Luciano, Texas DB Deshaun Jameson, super athletic corner, but he's like 5'9", real explosive kick returner as well. So we'll see if this dude could sneak onto the practice squad, or, maybe get a corner spot. But like we said, the 49ers have a lot of corners this year, so we'll see. UTEP running back Ronald Awatt, he's a guy we had mentioned as a sleeper we wanted the 49ers to pick up. This dude reminds me of Jeff Wilson coming out of college. Kind of your back that's going to be a one-cut runner, get upfield, and he'll punish people, Real similar runner to Jeff Wilson for me. And he does have some receiving ability as well. So we'll see what he can do. Rutgers DB Avery Young, another versatile guy. He was a corner, transitioned to safety. We'll see, kind of undersized. A guy that everyone was talking about at 49ers rookie minicamp was Hawaii O-lineman Ilm Manning. So he was a tackle. I believe he was a left tackle for Hawaii, but he's short, has short arms, so he's not a tackle in the NFL. But they said, hey, this dude is explosive. So look at him to compete for a guard, maybe a center backup spot for the 49ers. Did you hear anything about him?
No, I haven't. But I haven't been on too much of the social media lately with football. I've been too busy at work. I haven't heard much.
Yeah, so he's a dude. We'll see if he can compete for a spot. Let's pull up some videos. Here's Jack Coletto right here playing quarterback. Here he is throwing the ball. Look at that.
Damn.
Yeah, so you love to see that. Let's see if we can find something else. Here he is at Wildcat. All right. I found out it wasn't my computer with these clips. It's Twitter. But here he is breaking off like a 50-yard run. And this is a fullback linebacker playing quarterback.
That's pretty cool.
Let's see. Here he is at fullback right here, kicking out a guy. You see him right there. Boom, kicking out the linebacker for the running back. Just versatile guy, does a little bit of everything. Here he is catching a touchdown pass. Here he is playing special teams. Dude does everything. It's pretty crazy. Running the ball at fullback right here. So if there's a guy that you want on a 53-man roster that could do everything, and look, he could get a spot just based off special teams play. So look out for Jack Coletto. Love to see Niners. We'll see. But yeah, so Tulane wide receiver Shea Wyatt, Minnesota linebacker Mariano Marin. A couple of guys. Shepherd O-line Joey Fisher is interesting. So this dude, we watched his highlights. He's from a D2, but he was dominating, right tackle throwing people, just mauling people. He goes to 49ers rookie minicamp. and he has to get shut down early because of dehydration issues or maybe being a little out of shape. But, seeing him out there, he's built like an NFL O lineman, super athletic as well. How do you feel about Joey Fisher?
I was hearing some good things about him. I did hear he was dehydrated or out of shape, like you said. Um, and his highlights, man, the boy was tossing people. We've seen a couple of plays where he was just, it was ridiculous, and somebody like him, man, he's a big, strong guy. We get him training right. That's the thing too. Your lower schools, they don't have the meal programs, the workout programs like the NFL. Now you're coming to a top-notch organization. Shit, we could turn that boy out right there. He might be a stud.
Yeah, and so he was a right tackle. He did 38 reps on the bench, which would have been the most at the combine, but he wasn't invited to the combine. He was invited to the Senior Bowl, but he had a broken hand, so he wasn't able to perform. And I believe he probably would have been drafted in, third to fifth round range if he did perform at the Senior Bowl, because then you would have seen him going against top athletes. So I think the 49ers might have a steal with this dude. And the backup offensive line competition for the 49ers this year is going to be fierce. Jason Poe coming back, Nick Zakel, you got Joey Fisher, Ilm Manning. It's going to be fierce. Luciano, the guy from the Giants who said, hey, I'm here to start. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting.
That's what we like, man. You get the competition, it brings out the best in players. You either step up or you step aside, and nobody wants to step aside.
Yeah. So, and then we got Marshall running back Kalen LeBourne. This dude, we saw him, late in the process. He's from Marshall football, so not, a school everyone thinks about. But the dude goes to 49ers rookie minicamp, and he's already the guy that they're like, hey, this is the next guy. Matt Breida was an undrafted guy that made the 49ers roster as a running back, played a ton of reps for them. Next one you have is Elijah Mitchell is the late round pick that beats out the early round pick Trey Sermon. And then you have Jordan Mason last year, undrafted guy, comes in, beats out Ty Davis Price for reps on the 53. And Kalen LeBourne is looking like the next guy to do that. They said, hey, he's built like an NFL running back right now, explosive, not the fastest long speed, but he was great at Marshall this past year, and he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He went to Florida State and had some off-the-field issues and some injuries, but he finally put it together in his last year at Marshall. What do you think about Kalen LeBourne?
Like you said, they're looking pretty good at him right now. We always do good. That's one thing the 49ers do is the undrafted running backs. They do pretty good with them. We've had the last couple of years, somebody make the team from there. So they do know where to find the talent there. So this is a guy that, I'm rooting for. He looks like a baller. And when you get in those games in the trenches, man, you need those tough running backs.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a dude, just this past year, they go to Notre Dame and he goes off on them. I think he had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on Notre Dame. Here's a play right here that you're seeing him just cutting up that Notre Dame defense. So dude looks like a baller, the next undrafted running back to be good for the 49ers. We'll see. And Ty Davis Price, man, he got some competition to make this team this year. But just look at him, looks explosive, like a vicious runner. Love to see it. 49ers need good running backs on the team. So love that one. And then one that wasn't listed on that list, but is a very intriguing pickup, is a guy that I had listed as a sleeper in the draft because I like the Eastern Carolina team this past year. the running back, the quarterback, and both receivers. So Isaiah Winstead goes undrafted. He ran slow at his pro day, like a 4.6, but he's a big receiver, 6'4", 201 pounds. And I'm going to go full screen here. Can you see it better?
Yeah.
And he posted this clip, and it got over 1 million views. And then the 49ers signed him 2 days later. But just look at the moves. Just remind you of Kendrick Bourne to me coming out. Maybe like a Jawan Jennings as well, style of player.
I like the size too. It's a big guy. That's like freaking Metcalf. And when you get those receivers that are big and they have good hands and they can move.
Yeah,
I like
so
it.
he doesn't have the speed like Metcalf. He's a lot slower, but he does have the size and he does run good routes. So that's going to help him to create separation, because you look at the route running, looks superb. So, really good player. We'll see if he can make the team. And I know these are just practice clips, but you turn on the film of the actual season as well, and he looks like a good player. Kind of that same, Kendrick Bourne, undrafted guy, and then he makes the team and becomes a good player for the 49ers.
Well,
So we'll see what he can become.
one of the other things too is like when the draft comes up, where you get picked, like a lot of the players that go undrafted that made it, had a good career. Like they said, all you need is the chance. You need to get that shot and get on the team. So it doesn't matter if you were in the first round. We've seen some busts in the first round, a lot of them, or undrafted. All you need is that chance to get on a 53-man roster, get on the practice field, mini camp, show what you could do, get that chance. Shit, some of these guys have great careers, you know what I mean, that so many people overlook because they weren't a top pick. So all you need to do is get that chance and see where it goes.
Yeah, and here's some clips of him, actual game footage. But even the Jawan Jennings career path, 49ers drafted him in the 7th round. He didn't make the team his first year, got put on the practice squad, and then was released. Nobody picked him up. 49ers bring him back the next year, and then he makes the team. And then look at what Jawan Jennings ends up doing, ends up becoming a key player for the 49ers. So keep an eye out for this guy at wide receiver for the 49ers. And this is another position the 49ers have a ton of competition at, DB, O-line, wide receiver. We'll see who can win these spots. But yeah, so that's the 49ers draft class. We'll move into the 49ers rookie minicamp real fast, and then we'll go over a little bit of the schedule really quick. So 49ers rookie minicamp, defensive coordinator Steve Wilks spoke, and, he's an impressive guy. We'll see what he can come in and do. But he said, hey, the 49ers, we're going to blitz a lot more and play press man coverage. And like we said, they bring in these athletic linebackers that are good at blitzing. They bring in Jair Brown, good at blitzing. Talanoa Hufanga, good at blitzing. And then you look at the corners. They now have Charvarius Ward, Isaiah Oliver, who they brought in to be their slot corner, and Darrell Luter Jr., all cornerbacks that are over 6 foot tall and can play press man coverage. So how do you think this defense is going to be this year? More aggressive, playing some man coverage deep down the field. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I think we're going to be nasty. I think they're going to be nasty. When you blitz a lot, you get beat on some plays. But I think when you bring the heat, and we already have, our defense is known. So I really like this coach coming in and saying that, we're going to press, we're going to be blitzing. I think it's exactly what we need, because there was a lot of times that we gave them too much time. Quarterback could run around back there, make shit happen. I like the blitzing. I like being that it's not going to be known. You're not going to be able to read us. And I think our teams, the players, made some of our last defense coordinators look a little better than they were, where this is a legit defensive coach. So I think once you get that with the players we have, oh man, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and like last year, we said, when Nick Bosa gets blocked up, nobody's really getting pressure for you on the quarterback. So 49ers bring in Javon Hargrave to be on the interior with Nick Bosa, and you're going to blitz. Good luck stopping that. It's going to be pretty crazy to see. I'm excited for it. And then some more things about rookie minicamp from the 49ers. So like we had said, the wide receiver position is going to be tough competition. Wide out Tay Martin. The 49ers had him last year undrafted, put him on the practice squad for the whole year. And he goes out there and has a great day. Looks like another guy that can compete for a wide receiver spot. And then the 49ers invite Ja'Cour Pearson to the 49ers rookie minicamp. And Ja'Cour Pearson played in the XFL this past year, and he was the XFL Offensive Player of the Year. Here's a clip of him at 49ers rookie minicamp. He's 5'6", tiny guy, but he's very fast, and he can win in route. And he's a good yard after catch guy, but he's tiny. So the 49ers invited him to rookie minicamp, and he went off. We haven't heard that the 49ers signed him, and he had a couple more rookie minicamp invites. Here's some clips of him. But, how do you feel about this guy? You think the 49ers will sign him to the 90-man after what he did at rookie minicamp and in the XFL?
He was pretty impressive, and like he is small, but there has been other receivers out there that have been real small that had real, they were really good. And if he has the speed, and make the plays, could be interesting. You know what I mean? I'm sure you could get him for a good, you sign him cheap, so hey, sometimes you got to gamble, got to roll the dice, see what happens.
Yeah. And you love seeing these XFL players getting a chance in the NFL. So I'd like to see him get signed, even if not by the 49ers, by some team.
Yeah, for sure.
And another piece of news, the 49ers invited a quarterback, Clayton Thorson, to rookie minicamp, right? And obviously not big news. You need quarterbacks there just to throw to the players invited. But the interesting thing about it was that the 49ers brought this guy in. He had an elbow injury a year ago from this mini camp, and that elbow injury is the same one Brock Purdy had. So, the 49ers probably had no intent on signing this guy, but maybe they wanted to bring him in to say, hey, let's see how a player looks throwing on an arm with the same injury Brock Purdy had a year later. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that? It was the same exact injury, same exact surgery, and the injury actually happened I don't know. But how do you feel about this thing that the 49ers did with this player?
It sounds like that's exactly what they did. It doesn't hurt. Let's bring this guy out here and see how he recovered. See how he's throwing, see if we can see an odd, arm motion, throwing motion. I mean, it's actually pretty smart. How did he do?
They said he looked good. He was throwing the ball well. I think he hit somebody for a 40-yard. He might have been the one that threw that pass to Ja'Cour Pearson. The one we just saw that clip of 40 yards down the field. So they said he did well. So that's an interesting take that the 49ers would do just to kind of get some clarity on this injury, I guess, and see, what could Brock Purdy look like a year post-injury. So interesting take. Another guy that was at the 49ers rookie minicamp from last year is Leroy Watson. 49ers brought him in. He was a tight end in college, transitioned to tackle in the NFL last year. And, he was at around 270 pounds. So he was way too small. This year at Rookie Minicamp, he weighed over 300 pounds. So we'll see. That's another guy just in the competition on the O-line. So we'll see there. But yeah, the 49ers basically with this rookie minicamp, it just goes to show that the competition in OTAs and training camp is going to be fierce at a lot of positions. Even if the starters are locked in, those backup positions, there's going to be some battles to see who's going to be backups at almost all positions. So how do you feel about that heading into OTAs next week?
I think that's good. We need that. We need those players being right on the heels of the starters. Not just for injuries. Obviously, if we get injuries, we want somebody to fill in just as good. But even to keep them on their toes, like you start slipping or you start messing around, you're slacking off, something's going on, you're not giving it 100%. There's somebody ready to go and try to take your spot. It keeps them honest. And that's what we need sometimes. You need to keep these players honest. So I think it's good, and it makes us a better team because we see them more in the practice getting ready for the games. So the better players you have, the better competition, you're more game ready, do the hard work in practice, then the games are easy.
Exactly. Yep. And then we'll go over the schedule really quickly. We'll just go through it real quick. So preseason, obviously not too important, but the 49ers will be playing against Jimmy Garoppolo week 1 of the preseason. First time we'll get to see him going against the 49ers after leaving the team, if he plays at all, because it is preseason, but just funny to see. So week 1 at Pittsburgh, and this game, they have that rookie quarterback that they're bringing back for a second year. He wasn't great, but, Pittsburgh, I saw a stat that they hardly ever lose at home, especially as a home opener. So it's going to be a tough environment to play in, going to be grinded out win to get. How do you feel about this week 1 game against Pittsburgh?
I always feel like we start slow too. What I mean? Like I don't know if it's the coaching plan, like don't want to come out and show everything right away or what it is, but I always feel like we kind of start slow. And Pittsburgh's one of those grindy teams that, they're going to give you a game. The difference that we got to do this year is we need to win those games. We can't afford to lose them. We've seen what happened last year. Like those games like that, you have to be able to pull out if you think you're at the caliber where we think we are. They need to get it figured out, in off season, preseason, get everything figured out where we're ready to go. Week 1, we're banging already.
Yeah. Then week 2, you head over to LA. We'll do a win-loss projection later in the off season, but for now we're just going over it real quick. At LA, they're not as good as they were, obviously, but they still have talented players, Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, not as many talented players as they did, but you play them week 2, and then that Thursday, right after that game, you're playing the Giants, luckily at home. But this Giants team is really good. Daniel Jones, we'll see what he is, but that defense is loaded, and they did make the offense a lot better this year. So don't sleep on the Giants, and it's on a short week. So how you feel about that game at home?
That one's going to be a battle because you figure the Sunday before we got the Rams. We've seen even when the Rams are terrible, they could give us a good game. You're always going to play up when it's, conference. And then to come back on a short week, and the Giants have been looking pretty good. Their quarterback, he's pretty good. I think that's going to be a battle. Those are the games that I'm saying that we got to be able to pull out.
Yeah, so for the 49ers, you ideally would want to come out of this 4-0 these first 4 weeks, because it becomes a grind later on, as you'll see. So week 4, you go play, you play Arizona at home. Kyler Murray's still hurt at that time. He won't be playing. You should win that game. And then you play Dallas at home. So you get 3 home games in a row. Nice little homestand here. Dallas comes in. We know Dallas has a good roster. How you feel about that game? Are you going to go to that game?
I probably will try to go to that game, because my dad's a Dallas fan, one of my best friends, and I can't stand Dallas. And they're good. And, and then you figure we beat them twice, they're going to come for blood that game. So if we're not ready to roll, they're going to come for it. So by then, we definitely need to be rolling. We need to be playing good ball and not have those losses on our belt already coming into that week.
Yeah, exactly. So next, the following week, you head out to Cleveland to play the Browns. And, the Browns last year, they were okay. Still were getting their footing with Deshaun Watson back. But this year, that Browns roster is loaded. Like, that Browns roster is pretty insane. Let's take a look at that Browns roster really quick, because they loaded that team up. Right. So the Browns, let's see who's interesting on here. Obviously, the Browns always have a good offensive line. They have Amari Cooper at wide receiver. Good corner in Martin Emerson. They have Myles Garrett, who's been a defensive player of the year. They have Marquise Goodwin, who we know well, burner at wide receiver. Who else they got here that's interesting? Mo Hurst, who was on our team, but faced injuries this past year. They had a really good draft this past year, brought in some good players that I won't mention. And then obviously they got Deshaun Watson on his second year back. You expect him to be a lot better. Dalvin Tomlinson, one of the best defensive linemen in free agency this past year. And like I said, their O-line is stacked. And then at running back, obviously, they got Nick Chubb. So, stacked Browns team. How do you feel about that game going on the road?
That's going to be a tough one. That's one of those teams you can't look past them. They've the last couple of years, they had a lot of talent, but they barely lost games, or they would have probably had little runs going in there, So that's definitely going to be. And then with Watson, like you said, second year coming out, he's going to be looking better. They're gonna have a pretty good record this year, I think. I don't think they're not gonna be down on the bottom. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then the Browns actually did just trade for Zadarius Smith, the good pass rusher from the Vikings. So, they loaded that team up. You got Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. It's going to be a scary team to play, but 49ers got to go on the road, play them, and then they head out and play a Monday night game against the Vikings on the road as well. Luckily, it's a Monday night, so the 49ers will probably come home and not do where they stay on the East Coast, for both games. Well, we'll see what they do. So Vikings, obviously, I just said they traded away one of their best pass rushers. But, they still have that super talented offense. And then they are releasing their running back, Dalvin Cook, as well. So they have lost a lot of talent. Still a talented team, but how you feel about the Vikings?
It's still a talented team, and they'll be home. So that'll be a game you can't look past. Then coming, like you look at that little stretch right there, you're coming off from Dallas, the Browns, and then you're rolling into Minnesota.
Yeah,
it's a little tough stretch right there.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, not as talented as they were the past couple years, but still talented. And then you get to go back home, but then you got to play the Bengals. Bengals have been one of the best teams in the AFC the past couple of years. Joe Burrow and their receiving options are legit. Their defense is getting better. It's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a good game at Levi's. That I would want to go to that game as well. How you feel about the Bengals?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough game right there because they are legit. They're one like us trying to put the pieces together to get over the hump. They're young, and that's a team that you don't always play, so it's not like you're used to them or you kind of know their coaching style. Like that's a tough one. And then coming off the games before that, that's going to be a battle right there. Those are the games that we're going to have to figure out a way to win.
Exactly. And like you said, this 4-game stretch right here, that's a tough stretch of the schedule. Luckily, after that tough stretch, we get to go on our bye. So you get to recover after that tough 4-game stretch. And then you go on the road to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville, they're a team that's improving as well. They made the playoffs this past year. Trevor Lawrence is getting better. And that team is improving overall talent-wise. We did beat them last year. But, they're improving, and you're playing in Jacksonville. 49ers should win that game, but, it's one of those ones you can't sleep on the team.
Yeah. It's good that we're coming off the bye with them, because sometimes the bye throws you off too. You come out a little sluggish. So that's a good game to come back, not meaning that, we're going to roll over them, because we've seen what they did in that playoff game towards the end. They had like a crazy ass comeback in one of those games.
Yeah.
So they're definitely a team that could win.
Exactly. And then you play the Tampa Bay Bucks at home. Obviously, they lose Tom Brady. They're not the team they were. Leonard Fournette isn't on the team. They still have the 2 good receivers. The defense lost some pieces. So, this is a game you should win. It should be one of your easier games on the schedule. Don't let them surprise you.
Yeah.
And then, another tough stretch. You have Seattle. You're going on the road to Seattle. And this is a short week. So hopefully this Tampa game, you could put them away quick. Run up the score, get the starters off the field because you're going on Thursday to play at Seattle. How do you feel about that game? Going to be tough.
Well, Seattle's going to always play us the best they could play us. And they had a good draft too. They're looking like they're going to have a pretty legit defense. The thing that I'm hopeful is I don't think Geno Smith is as good as they think he is. So I think we could, take him. But that's going to be a battle. Seattle, Carroll knows how to coach against us. You know what I mean? Like, that's tough right there because we have them, and then we have Philly, and then we go right back to them.
Yep.
It's hard to beat a team, twice and then that close. So I never look past Seattle. We have old history, so you never look past them. You know what I mean? And they're, even when we thought they were going to be terrible, they ended up being pretty decent.
Yeah, in Seattle, we thought they'd be rebuilding last year, but a great draft. And then that Russell Wilson trade ended up paying off because Denver sucked. So they're back, and it looks like they might at the moment be the team to beat in the NFC West because the few issues they had on that roster, they had multiple first-round picks to shore up. So it's gonna be battles again with Seattle, even though we did sweep them 3 times last year. And then you head on the road again. You do get a long week. Since you played on Thursday, you get a long week. And then you go play at Philly, which a rematch of the NFC Championship game. It's going to be a dogfight. Hopefully you're healthy in that game and you can go back and avenge yourself.
Yes, we have some payback. because obviously in our minds, with our quarterback going down, we could have been in that game. That would have been a different game. And I truly feel that we're the better team. So I think we're going to roll into Philly, and I think we're going to take the fuckers out this time.
Yep. So then we head back home, play Seattle one more time to finish off this tough 3-game stretch. Hopefully, you're at home, you had a normal week. Hopefully you just go and handle business there. And then you play at Arizona. Kyler Murray should be back, but they have one of the least talented rosters in the NFL this year. So you should be able to sweep them. Can't take anybody in division lightly, but you should sweep them this year. And then you Baltimore heads to town on a Monday, the following Monday after that, for a Week 16 game on Christmas. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this Seattle Thursday night game is the Thanksgiving game. And then you also play this Baltimore game on Monday night. It's a Christmas game. So 49ers players are not getting to be with their families much at all this season. Monday night at home against Baltimore on Christmas. I think that's going to be a great game, going to be a battle. Lamar's hard as hell to play against, but that should be a fun game for Christmas. What do you think? Would you go to that game on Christmas?
Yeah. I we were kind of talking about that already. I think because remember we went to a Christmas Eve game a couple years back. We definitely that's right up our alley. We're those kind of fans. And then Baltimore, that's going to be a game. We got history with them too, so that's going to be like a good one to watch. That's going to be some excitement right there. And right here in this part of the season, teams are trying to make playoffs right here. You win or lose a game, you're in or you're out. So this is real tough. And then we have like the Seattle Cardinals, like Philly, like we're deep in the schedule right here. Like this is real right here. We need to be pulling these games out.
Yeah. So then you go and you play on a short week because you did play on Monday. Then you head over to Washington to play on New Year's Eve. And you're playing against a Washington team that had a stacked defense last year, still going to have a stacked defense this year. Still trying to figure out the quarterback. They have Sam Howell, the rookie last year, who they think is going to be the guy this year. You should win this game, but it's a team you don't want to sleep on because, like you said, they're probably going to be right in that wild card race. And who knows where we're going to be at that time. This could end up being a must-win game in the season on the road. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, that's a tough one too because I seen them playing last year with their newer quarterback, and they still look pretty good. They're a couple pieces away too from being a good team. They have a good coach now. And like I said, in this part of the season, man, a lot of games matter. So you're getting the best of the best coming out of what they could do. And even if they're not, they're going to be trying to be spoilers.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Week 18, we don't know when this game is going to be yet, but you're playing the Rams at home. And like you said, this game, we don't expect the Rams to be good this year. But if the 49ers are right in the thick of that wild card chase, this could be that spoiler game where the Rams try to come keep you out of the playoffs. So definitely not a game you can overlook until you're in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So, and it also could be a game that could be the difference between you being the 1 and the 2 seed. Like last year, that made all the difference. So we'll see with that one as well.
Very true. It's You know, I think I heard that we're the second most team that traveling the most this year.
Yeah, right behind Seattle, because they obviously are up north further from the California teams, where we're right by those ones. But we're still
Yeah.
second most, like you said.
And like you said, we're playing on all the holidays. We have some Thursday night games. We got a Monday night game. We got some short weeks. And then I think it was you telling me that we play like 3 or 4 teams coming off their bye.
Yeah.
You know, that's like what the hell, man? Like we always get it, but it is what it is. I've always said if we're that good and we're gonna try to win it all, you can't make excuses. We got to play just like everybody else. All the teams got to go out there and grind. Some have a hard path, some have easier paths. You got to learn how to win, and you just got to go out there and get the job done.
Yeah, and this is a prime example. The season's going to be a grind, but this is why you want that 1 seed, because if the season's going to be a grind, you want that extra week off in the playoffs to get ready for the playoffs. Get some rest, relax a little bit. So, hey, you got to win as many games as possible and not lose those easy ones that you do have, because you don't have many of them this year.
No, you don't. And, you want to be at home with your fan base. You want everything rolling your way, especially nowadays in the NFL. That little bit of fans, your home turf, all that stuff starts adding up. And that's what we need. We need to find a way to win. We need to be dominant at what we're doing. We need to be coming up with the big catches. We can't be giving stuff away. We can't be turning the ball over, missing the first downs, or dropping touchdown passes. Like now's the time that the 49ers need to tighten up their game and learn how to get over that hump.
Yeah. And we'll see how this quarterback situation plays out. We're still waiting on that. But that's all we got for you guys today. We're sorry it was a long one. We had a lot of stuff we had to recap and go over because we haven't been on in a while. But we appreciate you for tuning in. Please leave a like and subscribe if you are here. We're almost at 300 subscribers. We appreciate you. And thanks for tuning in.
Turn it back. Money.